Like it or not, DLC allows creators to continue releasing content for a game that's already come out. It offers the creator an opportunity to keep people's interests, but it also acts as a means to release an almost unfinished game, pushing for paid content that arguably could have just been included at the start. But so far, Nintendo has yet to catch this infection, and although they may sometime soon, Nintendo's DLC for Mario Kart 8 just goes to show how pure they still are, while still managing to take all that money. I forgive you, Shiggy. So for this review, I'm going to go over each stage and give you my take on each individually. I'll assign a plus or minus depending on how I feel about it, and they will act as our major points for consideration once we get to the verdict, as well as a few extra points later down the track. This is going to get pretty extensive, so let's just get started. First up from the first DLC pack, we've got Yoshi's Circuit, remastered from the GameCube, and well, it's pretty solid. The course itself is stock standard stuff, but the cool thing is that the entire track is made to look like Yoshi, so there's that. But overall, it's a solid plus. Next we've got the Excite Bike Arena, but I'm gonna be honest with you, this is nothing exciting. I know, but the gimmick here is that the track layout changes every single time you play. But in the end, none of them are really impressive or distinct. If I hadn't already been aware of the variations, I probably wouldn't have noticed the changes altogether, because they all look exactly the same. It's because of this that I have to give this a minus. Next we have Dragon Driftway, which looks and feels awesome. The stage is pretty straightforward, but the aesthetic alone is incredible in itself. The whole time you're riding on top of a Chinese dragon sort of structure, all while listening to some of the best music in the entire game. Pretty outstanding for DLC. So if you've ever wanted to tear up a shrine as Mario before, because who hasn't, this should tickle your fancy. Plus. Our final track for the Egg Cup is the fantastic Mute City, but don't worry, it's a lot better than this. Just saying. But seriously, this is easily the best track of the first pack. Not only is it just plain stunning in both visuals and music, but you can also go so fast, especially in the new 200cc mode. If you've been looking for a new F-Zero game, this will undoubtedly keep you satisfied for now. It's really that great. Plus. On to the Triforce stuff. First up we have Wario's Gold Mine, which is the exact same course as it was on the Wii, which is a good thing. The only real change is the fact that you can't get hit by those minecarts, which to be honest does make the track a lot easier. So it kinda takes away from the difficulty of the original, which is a shame, but it's small enough to keep this as a plus. Now Rainbow Road is more often than not one of the better tracks for each Mario Kart entry, but the SNES version remastered feels especially bland.
But it's a SNES track, of course it's not going to be as good.
Yes, I'm aware, Cooper, but that shouldn't really excuse it. The track is a flat course with almost nothing interesting, except thwomps and rainbows. Usually rainbows would make up for anything, but seeing as this track was also in Mario Kart 7, it's enough to make this a minus. Ice Outpost is pretty darn good. The whole idea behind this track is that there's two diverging paths the entire way through. The music is also really nice as well. It almost feels like a JRPG in a way, which is kinda strange, but whatever, it's fantastic. Now the paths don't differ from each other too much, but the track remains memorable and easily identifiable. Best track in the cup. Plus. Now we're finally onto the big one. Hyrule Circuit. I guess we should start with the goods. I mean, there's the Master Sword, rupees, and it looks nice. looks very nice. Yeah, so there's that. You know, I'm gonna be honest here, I don't really know what to think of this track. It's not bad by any means, but whenever I play it, I just can't help but feel its lost potential. I mean, think of all the environments of Zelda. What if the track consisted of going to the different mainstream temples that are often found in the Zelda series? Maybe that's too optimistic, but what we got didn't even scratch the surface. It's because of this that I'm gonna make an exception here and call this one neither a plus or minus, as it isn't bad, but it isn't that great either. Sorry, Link. But that's it for the first pack's courses. Let's talk about the characters and parts you get. So in the pack, you get a few cool parts for each character, except Cat Peach. Probably because she shouldn't even be in the pack. Sorry, yes. Yes, as for the parts, you get this four-wheel drive type thing, the Blue Falcon from F-Zero, as well as a bike, glider, and wheels inspired by Zelda, which all look pretty awesome. Link is pretty crazy to drive with as well, and I'm really glad he's in this pack. Oh yeah, and there's also Tanuki Mario, again. But to sum up, the first pack is a superb start, but it's kinda let down by a few tracks here and there. But let's move on to the second pack, arguably the better of the two. So first in the Crossing Cup, we have the ever so popular Baby Park, a classic GameCube course that everyone either seems to love or hate. Personally, I love it. If you're against a full lobby, Baby Park is the definition of hectic. I mean, let's outline what we got here. 12 people on a tiny course with item boxes almost impossible to miss, 7 laps, and even anti-gravity the entire way through. The track is just an oval, but it's just so fun to throw stuff knowing that you will probably hit someone down the line. And of course, getting hit yourself. It's a light-hearted track that's overall a good time. Plus. After Baby Park, we have Cheeseland. I mean, the view at this point's nice, and there's cheese. It's lots of cheese. It kind of feels like dry desert condensed with a few pieces of cheese thrown in. And that's it. I mean, if you're a fan of cheese, Nintendo's got you covered. But,
Yeah, we get it. Just cut to the cheese.
Oh wow, that was cheesy. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a minus, because there's nothing really to talk about here. Now this next track is quite possibly my favourite. Wild Woods is just so unique and flawless the entire way through. The variety's endless. I mean, you're going up the side of a tree full of little tree houses with toads in them. Enough said. The colours are all so vibrant and the little details are boundless. The sunlight passing through the trees is also a nice touch. Easily a plus for me. Just go ahead and play this. Finally, we have another fantastic stage, creatively titled Animal Crossing. Once again, the details and little references to the series are everywhere, and the villages all look so good in HD. I mean, you know the Money Rock Secret, which is a staple feature in basically all Animal Crossing games? Yeah, well, it's here. If you crash into it, a coin pops out. Now that's detail. The defining feature, however, is the fact that the stage changes its season randomly every time you play. To my knowledge, this doesn't affect the gameplay of the track, but it's so cool seeing a different season and looking around for all the new details. The stage is arguably the best looking stage of the DLC. I mean, just look at it. The colours really pop, especially in spring. And it's fantastic. Easily a plus for me. And finally, we move on to the Bell Cup with Koopa City, a course from Mario Kart 7. When I first played this on the 3DS, I really didn't like it all too much. And it's the same here. The backgrounds look nice, I guess, but it lacks a really standout identity despite its futuristic setting. It's ironically monotone and bland in my opinion. The design is also a bit strange, and it doesn't feel as polished as some of the other tracks. So it's gotta be a minus. You know what Riven Road reminds me of? 2 words, Toy Story. And I love Toy Story. This stage breaks the trend of remade tracks being lackluster. It seriously looks like an original course. Unlike Cheeseland, this track's identity doesn't feel forced at all, and it's just one of the best in the DLC. Plus. Super Bell Subway is a solid track, nothing crazy, but its setting in a station is distinct and memorable. I wouldn't say it's as good as Coconut Mall, a similar kind of track, but it instantly receives points for having trains, because trains are cool. Plus. And finally, we've reached our final stage, Big Blue, and what a way to finish. This is the only track in the DLC that utilises sections instead of laps, and I'm glad it did. At first, seeing this stage, I was pretty worried it was going to be too similar to Mute City, the other F-Zero stage, but I was happily proven wrong. The first time I played this, I was just pulled along almost like it was a roller coaster, another one of my favourite stages, and not just for the DLC. Oh yeah, and this one is exhilarating in 200cc plus. And that's all the courses, but before we move on, let's just quickly go over the rest of Pack 2. So you get both male and female Villager, Isabelle and Dry Bowser. A pretty solid selection, I think. Probably a bit better than the first one, because, well, Cat Peach and Tanuki Mario aren't exactly the most interesting. You also get some cool vehicle parts, which, although aren't as good as the first pack, are still welcome additions. Phew. Now that we've gone over absolutely everything, let's move on to the verdict. So out of the 16 tracks we got, I found 11 of them to be pluses, which is pretty good. Now, I know it's a bit weird, plussing 11, usually only plus 1, 2, or 3, but I thought this would be the exception just because I don't usually review DLC, so yeah, plus 11 to this one. Something I found ran through every single track was the amount of small details in every single race. I mean, you know, you're going pretty fast, so you're going to miss a lot of these, but if you really take the time to look around, you can notice so many things, and that attention to detail just makes this almost an extension of the game rather than DLC. So I'm going to plus 3 for this one. Another thing that I found really good was the value. I mean, for 16 Australian dollars, you're getting half of Mario Kart 8 pretty much. You're getting half the amount of courses that we were given at the start of the game. So it's really good of Nintendo to just release this sort of content at such a cheap price. And you're also getting characters, parts, new stamps. Ugh. You know, you're not wasting your money here, so I'm going to plus 3 points for this one. Characters and parts are also really good. I mean, you got Link, who would have thought Link would be in Mario Kart, you got Villager, you got Isabelle, you got Dry Bowser, who is just awesome, and you got Tanuki Mario and Cat Peach, but who cares about them. So, generally, the parts and characters are pretty good, so I'm going to plus 2 points. One last thing that I thought was a nice touch was that 200cc feels so compatible with these courses. And 200 is probably my favourite now, and I'm just glad that there's Mute City, Big Blue, and even the Animal Crossing one, they all work so well in 200cc, so I'm going to plus 1 for this. Out of the 5 other courses we got, 4 of them weren't really all too good. Hyrule Circuit being the exception because it's neither good nor bad, so it won't be affecting the score. But ultimately, I'm going to minus 4 points.
Alright, let's see how the Mario Kart DLC stacks up.
So in the end, the Mario Kart 8 DLC is definitely worth a cheap price and is probably the best add-on content Nintendo has ever released thus far. You know, there isn't much competition, but still, it's quite the achievement. Now, if you can only afford one pack, I would recommend the second one, just because I think the courses are a bit better generally. But I guess if you really feel a need to have Link, then, you know, go for the first one obviously. But it's pure preference, but yeah, second pack, all the way for me. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Feel free to like, favorite, comment, subscribe if you really feel a need to. And if you want more Mario Kart 8 stuff, then feel free to check out this video right here. It's basically where I talk about how to make the perfect Mario Kart in my eyes. I don't know how good it is, it's pretty old, but it's there if you want it, it's there. I'm not forcing you. While you go ponder that, listen to the Smash Bros. Soundtrack. Yeah. I'm gonna go do that. Wait, I don't have a CD player.